Welcome to Inner Peace with Dr. Reese, a program that can help you become liberated in the modern world. Now, here's your host, Dr. Kevin W. Reese.
So what is the vomit box? Welcome to episode number 119. Today, I'm talking to Andy Schoenfeld. He's a veteran social worker, a very unusual therapist, and musician who, as I've said in past episodes, helped me out when I was going through my stuff back in March and April. This conversation is pretty raw. I don't even have my microphone properly on. It's raw, it's out there, and there's a lot of gems. So sit down and relax and take in this beautiful, invaluable recording. Let's begin. Andy, welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
How would you describe the vomit box?
Why do you want to know?
What's the vomit box?
Why do you want to know?
Well, I may not want to know. The audience wants to know.
You can read minds.
What is this vomit box?
You tell me.
The stream of thoughts.
All right.
That's a good one. Negative stream of thoughts, typically, hence the word vomit.
No, it's not negative. It's discrepant. There's a big difference. Negativity is your vomituous commentary on the process. Discrepancy is different than negativity.
Huh. Elaborate.
Well, if you go into the store and the steak, better yet, the pastrami that you buy, fatty pastrami, the kind that you have with rye bread, mustard.
Yeah.
The pastrami you buy costs $10 and you only have $6. You're discrepant, $4. It's not negative. You're $4 short. Your commentary on the process is this is negative. But it's not negative. You just have $4. That's not bad.
So the commentary
is, oh my God, I'm not going to eat. She's not coming over. I promised the pastrami.
So the vomit box.
All I have is dry knishes.
Yeah. So it's the reactions.
Oh, it's just discrepant. It means that you're $4 short. That's not negative. Someone could perceive that as, well, I got to go scrounge up some change. Let me go back to the car. You know, there's a way around it. But in the moment, it might seem terrible. Like you just blew it. So it's not negative. When you hear all that banter in your head, that's not negative. That's what happens. Goes off by itself. If you view it as negative, then that's a loss. that's a feather in the loss column. It's not negative. It's discrepant. It's a big difference.
So, what made you use the term vomit box? Vomit.
We didn't get done with discrepant yet. We still have to try and meander around what discrepancy is.
Okay, fair enough.
So the term discrepancy, the reason why I use that is because ask yourself the question: is it satisfying to feel like a failure? Do you enjoy the experience?
No,
Exactly. What causes you to not like the experience?
the reaction to it or the subconscious.
No. What causes you to not like that feeling? If you could figure out how to register an feeling is satisfying, it wouldn't be but most people are not going to do that. They're just going to, this horrible feeling. So what causes you to not like it? What causes you to want to get away from
Programming.
it? Well, yeah, okay, you could say programming. What kind of programming?
Subconscious programming.
Why is it cross-culturally known that human beings do not like to suffer? Strange. They come into a world where it's designed to suffer and then they reject it. That's another story. Why do human beings cross-culturally not like to suffer?
I don't know.
That's the correct answer.
Okay.
That's the correct answer.
We don't know much, do we?
Well, if you take a look at the last verse of I think it's the Expedient Means chapter of the Lotus Sutra. The verse is, this is my constant thought, how to cause living beings to enter into the Buddha or Dharma body or Buddha way. This is my constant thought. And so there's the word constant. And thought represents function. This is my constant function. Now you have to ask the question, who's my? Who's the speaker?
Your representative?
This is my constant thought. Well, historically stated, the historical Buddha said that. But if you look at it another way, it's life speaking. Life's constant thought is to help you enter into a particular way. Darwin discovered that within life, there's a adapt or change, that there's the ability to reach it, ability to potentialize within adverse circumstances. Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhism, comes the concept that there's something inside of you that causes you to want to go high. When you're vibrating low, it's not satisfying because there's something that causes you to want to vibrate high. There's the word cause. There's a constant cause in operation which causes you to want to vibrate higher, have a lighter vibration. And so we're not doing it. Life does it. Life demands that of us. That's why we reject, that's why we find suffering unpleasant, because there's something within us that causes us to want to go high. So that's why it's not negative, it's discrepant.
So sometimes the suffering pushes people into...
The suffering people don't like, so it causes them to want to seek a solution. Mm-hmm. So that's not negative in my viewpoint, that's discrepant. You're vibrating down, dark, and you want to vibrate high.
The suffering is the teacher.
It causes you to do it. Whether the human being does it or not is another thing.
It's the catalyst.
Yeah. But there's something inherent within human life, which causes it to want to potentialize, survive and thrive.
Right.
But that's not subconscious. It's programmed into the entire system.
But this vomit box, as you call it, why does it keep going? It keeps going. It just keeps vomiting. I remember you once saying that it's like watching the wind blow trees.
Well, that shtick is all about, you're not doing it when you're vomiting. You're not sitting around trying to figure out how to feel horrible.
Right.
It happens on its own. So like you asked the question, when you take a crap, do you consider yourself a crappy person? No, because you see it as natural.
Right.
And so, I don't know, you might get to the spot where it isn't the apple falls far from the tree. The apple is the tree. And the tree that came before that, and the tree that came before that, the tree that came before that, and all other trees that are going to come after. That means that the vomit that you have, is the way I look at it, I could be dead wrong. But the way I look at it is that your vomit is familial. It's many layers. It's societal, it's collective, but it's also familial. You have a unique personality, which those processes are filtered through the personality. So one person's eating disorder can be another person's sexual fetish.
Mm.
One person's sexual fetish can be another person's depression. And so when all of that stuff is happening, you're not doing it. That's like people say, like, they get into this, my parents screwed me up.
Yeah.
No, you didn't screw up. You're feeling exactly what your parents felt. You're feeling exactly what your great grandfather felt. It's just, it seems like someone did it to you. No, you come onto this place to experience those things.
Yeah,
you come here. I believe you come here to experience that.
That's kind of a victim mentality, right?
It's vomit. Well, that's commentary on the process. It's a negative commentary on the process. They did this to me.
So is it in a human's best interest to not pay attention to the commentary?
Well, it depends. Some people live to complain and they don't find it satisfying. But some people stay there for a long time. Some people stay there for their entire lives.
I had a university professor on a few months ago, and he said, I love to give my students a challenge and tell them just stop complaining for one day. And he's like, so you'd be surprised. Some students come up and say, I don't want to stop complaining. I like it.
Some people, it's what they know. And if a person were to be taught at a very early age that 99% of the time what you're hearing in your head is not consciously driven, that helps. Certainly the diagnostic terms don't help because, like I said, when you take a crafty, you call yourself a crafty person. No, because it's natural. So if you saw your vomit, you saw that blah, 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 blah going through your head because you're not doing it, it's happening, then you won't identify with it. It's the identification process where people get screwed up. People are under the impression that they're thinking. They're not thinking. They're listening. Look, if I asked you, what did you have for breakfast yesterday? What did you have?
I had a big bowl of fruit.
There you go. Now, did you see a picture of a big bowl of fruit or did you hear the words big bowl of fruit?
Both.
Yeah, happens so fast. You're under the impression that you're thinking. You're not. Works just like the computer, except in picture form. And so there's
like an audio wave and a visual wave coming through.
It happens for this kind of conversation. It happens real fast, beyond the speed of light. And so people are under the impression that they're thinking. They're under the impression that those are their thoughts. That's like me saying, look at the wind blow in the trees. I'm making my mind make the trees move.
Right.
You go, no, that's nuts. But if I said I observed the trees blowing, then you go, oh, that makes sense. So, people are under the impression that they're thinking. And my way of looking at it is they're not. It's happening.
Yeah.
And even better yet, my way of looking at things could be wrong. We choose to come here. We choose to come into a messy, nasty, violent, destructive world. We choose that.
On beautiful land, though.
On beautiful land. But we choose to do that. You think the aspect of us that brought us here is surprised over the fact that there are nuclear weapons and bombs and death? You'd be like, if divine intelligence is so divine, you'd think it'd know. You'd think it'd know about war and pestilence and all that stuff.
Yeah. Well, in Christianity, it's called the fall, right? And now we're in this world.
All right.
Hence the Adam and Eve story. So in Eastern traditions, it's typically called witnessing. Watching and listening to the thoughts and the emotions and not identifying with them and becoming the observer.
Yeah, I didn't know that when this came to me. When it happened to me for the first time, it was I was not seeking out any spiritual quest. I was simply trying to get through a very painful therapy session. And it was just before I had my knees done, so I was in a lot of pain. And I was in my kitchen table. And the client was standing at the front of the table. That individual had a voice for her mother, a voice for her father, a voice for the entire family. And she was having an argument using all of these voices, screaming, crying, snot pouring out of her nose. So I lifted my head up off the kitchen table and I looked at her and I went, "Why must you do this to me?" And I put my head back down on the table. She kept on going. So about another 15 seconds went by and I lifted my head up and I went, just like, why must you do this? Put my head back down. She kept on going. About half a minute went by and without any conscious thought or anything, I looked at her and I went, "You're not thinking. You're vomiting. You're listening to your subconscious talk and you're vomiting all over my kitchen table. It works just like your bowel and your bladder. It's automatic. Except when you take a crap, you call yourself a crappy person, all like that, all in one shot." Then I put my head down on the table and every light bulb I ever had in my head crushed, blew out. I could barely speak. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. I couldn't, I was like, did you hear what I said? And so when I first discovered that for myself, I couldn't make a logical sentence for a couple of days after that. I was just so blown away
by this epiphany, this realization.
Just that moment. Yeah. I was like, holy shit, I've been listening to this crap for 35 years. Jeez. Oh my God. I was like, wow. So then I went about asking all the questions that I asked her. Why does she do this? Why do I do this? Why must I do it? I came up with lots of experiences. It really wasn't intellectually driven. It was more like I had these experiences where I just started to see things completely differently within myself, like profoundly impacted the way I experienced my daily life. It just blew me out of the cannon. And I got real high. I must have sounded like a complete moron. I was just so high. I would say these things. Just like people would look at me like, what spaceship did you just fall off of? And so it was hard to have that kind of realization and experience it within myself. And then like, I was like, do I bother telling anyone about this? do I actually bother?
Yeah.
That's when I wrote that is the audiobook, The Secrets of Psychotherapy. Yeah, that's what all of that was about. And it was great. I loved it. It was hilarious.
And so how did life change for you moving forward, not identifying with your thoughts anymore? Did life get less serious?
One cannot be human and not fall into that. You know, it doesn't mean that I'm walking around and observing everything that goes through my head. It was a process to learn how to live with it. But I had a lot of fun. I created the character Mikel. That's the guy that talks like this.
Mm-hmm.
And he was hilarious. He was just absolutely hilarious. And so I came up with the mother of all rules. And then I researched it on the web because I'm not a big reader. I don't read a lot. I read The Nature of Personal Reality by Jane Roberts. I read that. But I never read a lot because I wanted to come upon it myself. Mm. So then I started to ask, does anyone else know this? And then I read the Eckhart Tolle stuff. It's in there. I read the subconscious reprogramming stuff. I saw it in there. And I was like, hey, this is cool. And the reason why it meant so much to me was because I didn't read it and understand it. I was just trying to get through a damn therapy session.
Right.
Without saying, shut up.
Right.
And then Mikel was hilarious. He was just a cut up. It was just so much funny stuff came out of that. It was over the top.
Why did you create Mikel?
I didn't. I had the information and I was looking for it, trying to find a context for it for months, man. I'm talking about for months. I was looking for this stuff. Then one day I was in the shower and I heard, as clear as you hear me, I heard, so you want to be a schmuck? I don't want to be a schmuck. I want to be a therapist. And I saw me sitting on a stage with this old Jewish guy sitting there. And I was like, oh, shit, it could be a play. Oh, wow, cool. So that's where the secrets of psychotherapy come from.
Why therapy? I mean, you're making a point there that it's kind of rape, but you're a therapist.
Wow, Mikel is like, if you wanted to open up a daycare center and your name happened to be Charles Manson, would you call it Charlie Manson's daycare? If your doctor's last name was Hitler, wouldn't that get you to ask you a question or two? He says, no one pays attention to the name psychotherapist. It's the rapist, therapy, 2 words, therapist. He called it therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And so then he came up with the rules. And I just sat there and typed. There was nothing conscious. And I guess if you actually listen to it, you'd see that there's really nothing conscious in it. I just typed.
So is this like a channeling type thing?
No. Who the hell knows? I don't know. All I knew is that it was really funny. And his sayings were incredible. And he was just so funny. It was just hilarious. He says, when you come in my orifice, you're hoping it's going to be a feel-good experience. So Andrew goes, when I come in your orifice? And he goes, yeah, when you come in my orifice. He goes, I'm not going to come in your orifice. And he goes, how are we going to do psychotherapy if you don't come in my orifice? And Andrew goes, you mean come in your office? And he goes, yeah, that's what I said.
Andy, look, you're a professional therapist. You make a living talking to people about their most intimate things ever. And then you have this realization. Mikel comes about. How do you continue doing therapy after all of this happens and still take it serious?
Did I say I take it serious?
I mean, you got tons of clients,
Mm-hmm.
and we're talking some heavy stuff, not just a 2-week depression here, a 2-week depression there. You got some heavy diagnosis going on.
Well, you have to try and understand, if you identify the subconscious blah 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 with the focused personality, then it's their thoughts. I don't view that. I don't view things that way. You can't go around telling people what they are based upon what they hear in their head. That's very dangerous. That's control, man. That's some sick control. The entire industry of therapy, or didactic therapy, you talk, I talk, you talk, I talk. You know, people think the therapist knows about sex, knows about relationships. Ask the mother of the children of how I am with relationships. I'm supposed to know all that stuff. I'm saying people come to me with their financial problems. People come to me with their kid problems. I'm supposed to know how to communicate. I'm supposed to know. It's one of the secret rules of psychotherapy that I'm supposed to know, because I have a degree, because I've done over 70,000 of these. I'm supposed to know all that stuff. What if I don't?
Right.
What if I don't?
They still come back because they want to talk.
Well, people come back for a variety of reasons. To be able to get away from advice giving, to be able to get directly to people being able to see that what they're hearing in their head is banter and they didn't create it. One time I had a woman, this is a beautiful story. I had a woman. Now she has an autistic child. And so she comes because she's very upset because of what the community thinks of her, what her family thinks of her, and what she thinks of herself as a mother, because her autistic child is not thriving. So I told her all this stuff. And she took it. She took it well. She comes back. She started out crying. In the beginning, she cried a lot. She came back one week and she was crying, and in my head, I was like, what I heard. So here we go. She says, I was standing in church and this incredibly warm sensation came through me. And I realized all the crap I was hearing in my head was just vomit. And above that, I heard, your child will be safe. She said, when all the vomit was removed, guess what I had? Now I'm sitting at the edge of my chair because this is great, man. This is like school for me. And I said, what? She says, when all the vomit was removed, the only thing that was left was my love for my child. People can learn a lot from that.
That's great.
That was a great experience. Yeah. So, people say all the time, how do you listen to all that? I don't. I'm telling you. I've gotten to the point where I zone out and I just listen for inflection, and then I jump in. In the book, The Secrets of Psychotherapy, I didn't know this. I didn't know what Mikel was saying when he said this. He says to Andrew, you have to be able to learn to listen above the vomit box, and you'll hear angels sing. And Andrew goes, and this is a guy that talks about feces and urine, angels singing. I didn't know what that meant until one day I realized how to get above that puke and listen to what could be a more appropriate, satisfying, move in the right direction answer to people's problems.
The higher self, as some people call it.
When I look up and see my higher self, I see these huge testicles, and it looks down upon me and says, hello, lower self.
Oh, man. What about emotions? They're not thoughts. They're a little bit more energetic, perhaps. Emotion, energy in motion, emo. Sometimes they can get trapped. Sometimes people hold on.
Uh-huh. Well, that's why we came here, to experience all of that. A lot of the psychotherapeutic community is what Richard had this sense the other day. Richard Jackson. He said, selling stupid. A lot of therapy is trying to sell something to someone to take them out of their experience. Everyone has to go through certain things. There's another great thing he said to me once is that you can't fix all these things. You have to live through it.
Yeah.
There are just no answers just to certain things. And then on top of it, look at it like this. Let's say I have a subconscious program that says I deserve to be slapped and beaten. Let's say that's my program. I didn't create it, but let's say it's there. So I go in and I'm bitching and complaining to the therapist about how my boss is so mean to me. Now, on a conscious level, I don't want that. But on a subconscious level, you bet I want that. That's secondary gain. Is tasty stuff, man.
Okay. All right, let's stay with emotions first. Because this is something I'm dealing with now. The last few months, I've been feeling my emotions, perhaps for the first time in my adult life, not repressing, just doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've cried more in I've never cried this much in my life. I can't even recall crying as an adult outside of a breakup here or a sad movie there. But really feeling grief, and fear, and frustration, and letting it release. First, it was scary. And then I realized what was happening. It was I'm releasing something. This is the human experience, right?
Yeah, look at it like that.
Something's happening. Something's happening.
Or something's not. You never know. It's the way you frame it.
Yeah.
The frame you put around.
Well, I'm framing it as something's happening.
Good.
Because I feel it, and I'm seeing the triggers. I'm seeing the triggers now. Because I'm witnessing more, and I'm seeing the thoughts and the emotions.
Uh-huh. Well, some things are better left undescribed. Words tend to water things down.
But you did say one time that crying is cleaning out the pipes.
Yeah. Well, when those things happen, have yourself a good breakdown. It'll bring out the best.
Yeah, you did. One time you told me, you said, "Hey, this is good. You're falling apart." What are you talking about?
One time a woman came to see me, and I love her. It's a very dear woman. She comes to see me and she says, I can't feel. I'm numb. So I say to her, you really want to feel? And she goes, yeah. I'm like, all right, sit down, close your eyes. But promise me, and once you start feeling, you don't jump up and run out of the office.
Yeah.
Opens her eyes and she looks at me. I go, close your eyes, relax. And I go, are you ready to start feeling? And she's like, nodding, yes. And I say, you are the whiniest bitch I've ever met. She's like, fuck you son of a bitch. Who the fuck are you? And I said, you feel that? Fuck you.
Oh, man. So she needed to be triggered by an insult.
She got it.
She got it.
Yeah. And she came back. She came back for a lot.
Well, you're a very different therapist, Andy. Your business cards say Andyland. I mean, come on. That's not normal for a therapist. You have long hair. You look like you're in a rock band. You smoke.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have a little whiskey here and there. You got Mikel. You make voices. You're talking about vomit boxes and rising above it, and this is not a normal therapist. So I would think some people walk away and some people keep coming back because they're like, oh, this is different.
Every now and then, I have to stay tethered. If I get untethered, I start saying shit that is way out. And so every now and then I become a little untethered. I guess after doing it for so long, I've been doing this for 35 years, 40 sessions. I used to do 50 a week, So there are a lot of people who come because, especially the young guys, I have a lot of young men, and I love them all. It says to this one kid, because they're young, they don't have the money, they don't have insurance, so I'll charge them $50, $60, But I love them. And I said to one kid once, because he was talking about his future and his future, I says, look, if you would have told me 40 years ago that I'd be sitting here after 35 years experience making $50 talking to some kid, I would have said, I don't want it. But it's the nature of the relationships. I love these young kids and they love me. And that's just the way it is. I see the potential in all circumstances. And I can spot genius. And I could also spot those people that are not ready to tap into genius. But I can spot it.
Mm.
I can spot it. You want to talk about a real genius, it's Richard Jackson. He's a saint. He's a real genius. Richard P. Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
That dude, man, he's over the top.
I've been trying to get him on the podcast, but he's a little computer illiterate.
He's a genius. I worked with Mike Longo, jazz musician. He was my music guy for 40 years. I knew Mike. I did the DVD series with him, The Rhythmic Nature of Jazz. He was a genius. And so maybe the reason why people come back is because of those kind of natures that I have. I'm very, very uber loyal. And so if someone does something for me, I'll never stop repaying it. And so no one was ever like that to me in my life. And so that's why to these kids that come to see me, I have a weakness for mothers and these kids. I had recently had a case, psychoactive substance abuse. So the hospital calls me, Yale calls me up from the social work office, and he says, a family is requesting you. I go, what's the problem? He goes, a psychoactive substance abuse, psychotic symptoms. And I went, I don't want it. I just don't want to do that. No. So goodbye. I get a call about 10 minutes later. Woman gets on the phone. She says, hello, Andrew. Blah, blah, blah. She says her name. And I said, hello, mother. I'll call them all mother because I don't know anyone. And so she said, please help my child. Now, what am I going to do?
Right.
They don't have insurance. What am I going to do? So just recently, 6 months went by, kids back at work and out of the woods. and doing real well. And the mother said to me, and here was my payoff. The mother said to me, when I look at my son in his eyes, I see my son is back. And so maybe I'm just too soft inside.
Well, there's the fruits of the labor.
That.
Yeah.
But I did that. How much power? Oh, I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Now what do you want to know?
What is the subconscious mind?
This is my way of looking at it. And like I say, I could be completely wrong. The subconscious is a realm. There's no time. There's no space. Everything happens simultaneously. There's constant potentialization in all directions. That's why to simplify it, to say that it moves faster than the speed of light. It contains everything that you have ever experienced, and there are reaches of it that contains your great grandfather's experience. That's why I say it's not the apple falls far from the tree. The apple is the tree. Contained within a seed is an entire forest. The
data.
Subconscious, huh?
It's like data.
Data encrypted in a language of pure brilliance, and there's nothing to create. Everything is there, created. It's endless. There's everything to discover, but there's nothing to create. It's everything to discover. It's more beautiful and wondrous than a human mind can comprehend, but you can experience it. And when you experience it, it's very hard to translate it into language. It's very, very hard. But you experience it in all its dimensions all the time. People are more tethered to their emotions, their physical body, so they do not delve into the stream. The saying, I saw my life flash before my eyes. Like that. Sort of.
Yeah.
It's there. It's all the time. We're just not tuned into it. And so it's a wondrous, most beautiful thing that there are no words to describe how incredible it is.
And we can use it we can reprogram it, right?
You can play with it. You can play with it. It's a great toy to play with. It's a great blessing. It's a wonderful thing to see that within every circumstance, there's every potential that exists. You're just tapping into the ones that you're used to. If you look inside of any situation, there's a way out, there's a way through. And it's that never give up spirit to find that, to create value from everything. No matter how horrible something is, tucked within it is the silver lining. And so if a person proceeds with that spirit, you'll never go wrong. Most importantly, one of the best kept secrets is that your life is like 1 trillion light bulbs, but you only have the switch on one light bulb. That's you. All the other switches are all the other people in the world around you. And so if you have a way to introduce people to things, because you really don't teach anyone anything. They're ready to hear something, and then their growth and their development takes them there. I can't tell you how I got to where I am. The only thing I know is that there's something about my life that allowed me to interact with so many people. I do that Buddhist thing too, the Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. It's Nichiren Buddhism. I can't tell you how many people I've turned on to that.
Yeah.
And so the way I look at it is I don't necessarily do all of those things for me. I played a show in Maine last weekend. I played the York County Blues Fest. And so I did this work, subconscious, blah, blah, blah. And it not only affected me, but it affected everyone on stage. And people told me, they were like, holy shit, what the hell did we just do? Stuff happened that never happened before. So one time I was working with a woman, and the woman had a picture of her child, the most delightful, beautiful child that you've ever seen. And I go, oh my God, it's gorgeous. The mother looks at me and she goes, if she were a football, I'd kick her into the next yard. She's like the Tasmanian devil. So I says to her, the kid must be sick a lot. And she looks at me, she goes, how do you know? Well, because you're sending her disapproval messages.
Right.
Says you should start telling her in your head, I love you. She looked at me. Yep. So anyway,
yep.
What wound up happening was the woman comes back next week and she says, you wouldn't believe what happened. My kid, after a couple of days of doing that, my kids' Barbie dolls started telling each other they love each other. And then all of a sudden she rushes up to me and grabs me and tells me she loves me. So the level of communication of the subconscious is beyond conception.
Yes.
Like when people say, I never knew he was a drunk. Well, consciously, you didn't know that, but on a subconscious level, you bet you knew. But it's out of awareness.
Right. And so if we have, let's say, a fear of something, we can actually reprogram that by coming up with the opposite.
Right.
The goal
instead of looking at the word reprogram, tucked within that circumstance are hundreds of potentialities. When you're doing the work, you're reaching for a potentiality that exists within a situation. So let's say I lost my job and I'm all freaked out. So I do some of the work and I start seeing, I start seeing it at more affirmative light, that sort of thing. It's not that I'm creating something new. I'm just tapping into another potentiality within the situation. And a nifty trick to use while you're doing that is that whole brain posture. That's Paul Dennison did the brain gym.
Right.
Whole brain posture is, statistically speaking, they have no definitive research that it works, but I personally found that it was helpful.
Yeah. And so creating a goal statement, which is an affirmation.
Yeah, you create your goal statement as if it's already happening.
No negativity in the statement at all. No
negation.
No don'ts.
Can't have negation. It's not negative. It's discrepant. There's no negation. Because negation doesn't exist in the subconscious. It's everything is affirmative.
So
everything is.
So a sick person could come up with,
I am healthy.
I am healthy, or I am sick free, or
I am vibrant. I am healthy. I always want to go in that direction. And one of the things that I learned, Stanislavski, Russian theater director, had emotional memory was his big thing. The method of consecutive actions. The thing that I do and when I visualize stuff is I visualize the physical action that goes along with it. I use that all the time. I use that every day because I go into a session and I'm like, I'd rather be writing music or something else.
Right.
I'm not like, wow, more therapy. And so I'll visualize myself with my arms waving and jumping up and down and yay, and then just start the session. And a few minutes in, it clicks in.
And you feel
that's
better.
Very, 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 very useful.
Do you do the whole brain posture with that, or it's just a visualization?
I just visualize that. I see it the way it is. I go, that's the way it is. And then I just visualize the physical movement and the feeling that goes with the physical movement. I use that a lot. I use that to write music. I use that, I don't know, if I want to write an essay or I got something to do, I'll see myself in physical action. And if you check out Stanislavski's work, you'll see that that's exactly what his big thing Or one of his big names. Absolute genius.
How does this work? This is under the umbrella of manifesting, I suppose. Back in the day,
Try and look at it like this. All right, so I'm about to go into a session. The potential for me to fall asleep in session exists. The potential for me to get caught up in the person who I'm working with, their vomit, that exists. The potential for me to get really upset and fall into their vomit exists. The potential for me to be excited and into it and motivated, that exists. Am I creating any of those potentials? No. I'm tapping into one. I'm tapping into the other. The manifesting stuff is selling stupid. Is selling people. It's selling a concept to people. It's selling, and a lot of people. I'll be honest with you, and I can't tell you how it works for me. It does. It just does. Did it work this powerfully 30 years ago? No, it did not. But I'm 61 years old now, so I've been through things.
If you were going into the doctor, for example, and you had a big test or whatever, a blood test, whatever, you can visualize a great result or a great attitude.
Yeah, I stay internal. My goal statement for anything that's challenging is I crush this bitch. And now it comes up automatically. If I get scared, I hear the words in my head, crush this bitch. I got that from my daughter. She had a test in school and she was like, crush that bitch. I use that all the time.
It's very sports-like. Like,
yeah.
Like, we're going to go win. We're going to go win.
Yep.
Rah, rah, rah.
Mm-hmm. I'm very much that way.
Is this something we can do as soon as we wake up in the morning to have an awesome day?
Look at it like this. It's like practicing the piano. It's no different. You go to your first lesson and you think, I'm going to walk out of here playing a Beethoven sonata. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to learn how to practice these things. It's a practice. It's a practice. If you put in the effort and you put in the activity, the things that a human being can create are quite endless. It's a practice.
So, what's secondary gain?
Consciously, I want to pass the test, but on a subconscious level, I want to fail and have everyone feel sorry. I take the test and I fail, and my subconscious program goes, yay!
So it's the subconscious holding on to the negative potential result.
Subconscious doesn't hold on to anything. It just does what it does. It's our job to open up our awareness to some other potential that exists within a situation. We're the ones that can do that. You like if I have a Beethoven record and I put it on and it plays bum 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 bum, the record's not holding on to Beethoven. If I take that record off and I realize, wow, I could play other records and put that on. The potential exists within a situation. Remember, here, this is theory.
So you can take Beethoven. You could take Beethoven off and put on some Run DMC.
Yeah, look at it like this. This is theory. In Mahayana Buddhism, there's a concept called the 10 worlds. Well, the 10 worlds are 10 separate emotions, 10 separate states that you can be in: hell, hunger, anger, animality, humanity, joy, learning, realization, bodhisattva, or Buddha. But the 10 worlds are not separate. Each world is within each world. So there are actually 100 worlds. Do you like to be depressed? No. There's your world of Buddha. Do you like to be depressed? No, I want to learn how to get out of it. There's the world of learning inside of hell. Do you like to be depressed? No, I'm hungry to change, to see something different. Each world is within each world. So the potential, that's the theoretical explanation of the potential of things. And the potential runs by rules. They call them the 10 factors. 10 factors, how life manifests in the physical and spiritual realms. So there's there are 100 worlds times 10 is 1,000, because there are 10 factors. And that manifests in the human being, the environment, and the society. So that's 1,000 times 3. So that's called each in its sense 3,000 realms in a life moment. And a life moment is not a second. The word moment is continuous. It's not a time concept. The moment is not a bing, bing, bing on your clock. So when it says 3,000 realms in a moment, that's not referring to 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
Clock time, yeah.
Yeah. So the potential to change exists.
Yeah.
So when someone sits down and talks, you train yourself not to go into their vomit spew. You train yourself to, you ask them, is that conscious? Are you doing that? Or is it popping up on its own? Let's say popping up on its own. And you start to ask them, what would you rather see? What would you rather hear? What would you rather feel? That's kind of how the subconscious, how we experience it.
And so we can use whole brain posture and goal statements to...
Yeah, whole brain posture, Paul Dennison, we did that for accelerated learning. That's all it is. It's just you learn things quicker. It's a teaching tool. And very helpful. I enjoy it.
And have you passed this to many clients?
Yeah, I mention it. I use it. It's helpful, but I don't talk about it forever. Like I'll show someone something. Like I'll show someone something, and then my expectation is that they do it.
Right.
When you don't do the work, then it's just blah, blah, blah.
Right. Yeah, coming up with goal statements is quite liberating in a way. Just coming up with goal statements is kind of liberating, because you're consciously coming up with the opposite. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Potential result that you find more satisfying. And so the simplest way to come up with a goal statement is take any problem, make believe it's fixed, and as if it's happening in the present, and then use that. There's so many things that a person can do. Look at it like this. Here's an interesting view on being a therapist. Like I've done 70,000 of these. That means that on a subconscious level, I've experienced and worked out 70,000 different types of problems.
Right.
Where the average person just sits down and thinks about their problems. I hear my clients in my head all the time. I'll wake up in the middle of the night and I'll hear someone talking. Like I'll actually hear verbatim statements. That's how deep this is. It's like, let's say you write a book and someone reads it and they resolve a really deep issue. You're a part of that, and your subconscious has resolved that within you as well. Yeah. We're not alone. On this realm, this level, we're not alone. We truly are that interconnected thing.
Yeah, and earlier you mentioned the whole light bulb analogy.
Yeah. Well, the subconscious is I, me, or my. Above I, me, or my is us. So Mikel says, above I, me, or I is an us.
Yeah.
Get it? Anus. How do you spell anus?
Anus. And so in the famous book, A Course in Miracles, it's referred to as the sonship. Many people call it the collective mind. That we're all connected, and we're all the same.
Yeah.
Which is why judgment, so to speak, is a quote-unquote sin. because
Yeah,
you're looking at your brother or sister.
yeah,
We're the same.
yeah. You don't think that stuff and that's happening in Afghanistan right now is not affecting us neurologically?
Right.
You don't
Right.
think every time the Earth is assaulted and beat up on, that it's not affecting us neurologically?
And how about the pandemic? I mean,
It just
you
affects us.
you, you mentioned to
Affects us.
me about a month ago we talked, and you said to me, you're like, I think the pandemic's bothering me. You said to me,
Oh yeah,
and I'm
yeah,
like, oh, it's not messing with me. Yeah, but it does it subliminally. It does it. It
yeah.
comes
No,
in.
I have pandemic vomit. Of course, I have pandemic vomit. I have money vomit. I have vomit about these friggin' health insurance companies. I have political vomit. I have anything that is known to humanity. I have vomit.
You're human. You have human vomit.
I have a simple way to look at it is I had a mother and father.
Right.
And when you experience your problems, your vomit, you're experiencing their energetic pain filtered through your personality.
Ah.
So when someone says, my mother did that to me, that's a dumbass statement. No, they didn't do that to you. You're feeling what your mother felt through your own focus, through your own personality.
Right.
Personality is you.
Right. So you have all this vomit,
Mm-hmm.
but the idea, the potential is to not identify with it.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes there might
Yeah.
be some good advice in there or a little poke that
Well,
says,
sometimes you like to identify with that, especially when it's happy vomit.
right, sure. I
Like
mean,
last year when the Jets won the Super Bowl, I had happy vomit all over the place.
the Jets aren't ever winning the Super Bowl. I hate to
Jets
inform
won
you
the Super Bowl last year, man.
that. Yeah, you need a goal
Why
statement
do you
with
think
that.
they got the number? Why do you think they got the number 2 draft pick this year? Because they won the Super Bowl.
Happy vomit. Yeah, my
Yeah.
teenage and 20s, one of my favorite things to do would be to put on my favorite music and just
Uh-huh.
vibe out all
Yeah.
by myself and
Yeah.
actually let my thoughts just go in the dream mode.
Happens all on its own.
But that's not real either.
Nope.
It's all an illusion.
Well, yeah. That's one way to look at life. There are, you get slapped in the face by a pretty girl. It doesn't seem like an illusion.
I mean more the thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the gaps in between the thoughts?
Awareness.
Mm.
It never stops. It's where our awareness goes. Like when you space out, like you're spacing out, you're accessing other layers of the machine.
Mm.
It's your brain. My way of looking at it, like I said, my way of looking at it is when you're spacing out, the reason why it's so therapeutic is because you're accessing information from the machine that is not transferable into language. We don't have words for it.
So
Spacing out is wonderful.
oh yeah. Yes. So I have to wrap this up in a few before I
Very
ask
good.
one last question.
Mm-hmm.
Where can people come say hello to you? You're not a big social media guy.
I am not at all a social media guy. They'd have to find my phone number, which is kept in a secret hidden vault. They'd have to. Sometimes people go online and see. I do have some Google page. There is an Andrew Schoenfeld page. I just call myself.
One of the things that I've observed about you from the day I met you is you tend to, or at least it seems that you just don't take life all that serious. You like to laugh.
Well,
You like to have a good time.
the reason why you got from me what you got from me was because of Joe LaChance.
Right.
I love Joe. Joe's like a brother of mine. So when he told me that about you, you got the kitchen sink.
Yeah. For like
Because
3
I'm
yeah.
I'm just very loyal, and Joe's hip, and so that's why that.
Yeah.
Normally an average human being would have not got what I said, all the things I said to you.
Yeah. Yeah. We were on FaceTime for like 3 weeks straight.
Uh-huh. That's right.
And I'm very appreciative of it.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, it's
But what I'm saying is you're very lax in your approach to life.
Sometimes I could be the biggest dick on earth. You know, it depends on, depends on what's happening. Everyone is multidimensional. There are aspects to them that, like if you lived with me, you would wonder if I ever talk. I never talk. Now I'm talking, but after we get off, I might say 3 words until I have to go back to work. I went with Jane up to Maine, back and forth. I think I said a sentence. She's very good with it. She realizes that what I'm doing in my head has nothing to do with talking. When I'm doing this, I mean, the reason why I did this with you is, I know Joe, I know you. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting around talking about it.
Right.
I did it because you asked me to do it.
You're pretty under the radar, buddy.
Mm-hmm. Why not? Why not? Probably the best thing that ever happened to me were experiences where I realized I can't teach this to anybody. There's no way I can teach this to anyone because I don't know how I got here. The only thing I can come up with is I work with a lot of people and introduced a lot of people to Buddhism, but I can't tell you how how I got to the place where I got. You can hear it in the music. You could hear a definite change in the music over the past 4 years. Definite change. It went from 0 to 800 real quick. But I can't. I got here because of what I did, the causes. So,
do you consider yourself a Buddhist?
Well, my religion is I'm a Jew.
Right.
I'm a bar mitzvah Jew, but I practice Buddhism. I chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. It's very hip. I like making sounds.
A Jubu.
Yeah, I'm a Juba. I like the sound. You can pretend that you're one of those priests. Nam Myoho Renge.
Have you ever had any trippy moments doing those chants?
Oh, hell yeah. Oh, my God. What, are you kidding me? Damn, I created the model of self-identification as a result of that. The whole therapy model. I used it for 30 years. Oh, my God. Yes. Visions. Oh, just either that or hallucination. I don't know. But, I can't begin to tell you. There's no words to describe like the things I've seen, experienced, and really high shit. Like really, really high shit. That's why I said I got to stay tethered, man. If I get too high, then just the shit that I'll say won't make sense. You know what I mean? Sounds crazy. And the older I get, the more it happens. You know, hearing people in my head or seeing stuff like that. But I don't know. That's just me. That's just happening.
Well, hey, you got to go to work on Monday and see 10 clients a day. And
Monday's not that bad. Monday, I think I have 8. It's the spacing that's tough. You know, you see someone at 10 and then someone has to come at 7 at night. So being a therapist, work a lot of hours.
Yeah.
That's tough. But that's why I use the visualization stuff. First time I used it was playing baseball. I was playing against a guy that, man, this cat can pitch like you have no idea. He's an incredible pitcher. And so I closed my eyes and I used Stanislavski stuff. I pictured my hips opening up and the feeling of the bat on the ball. And that feeling, that thwack. And I got in the batter's box. He threw me a curveball that whack. Man, I launched it. So the next day I was at work. I was working with a psychotic woman, over medicated. And I realized, because I was falling asleep, how boring it was. It's just sitting there. She's drooling. You know? And I said, oh shit, I'm in a trance. Let me do that thing. So I pictured myself jumping out of my chair and going, wow, you got it. And then I fell back to sleep. And about 3 minutes later, she uttered something. And I jumped up and went, wow, you got it. And I'm looking at my hands in the air. I was like, holy shit. What the hell is this? That's where that started. So I used it. That's my survival tool. The physical. You visualize the physical body movement.
Yeah. You can do colors too, right?
You do colors.
Light green.
Colors.
Light green?
No, never light green. Dark green. Light green tends to move to its sickness. Azure blue. Green, gold, silver blue.
Gold.
Sunset red.
Gold. So a dark green, like a forest green?
Yeah, that's my favorite color. I use that all the time. All the time.
Forest
it's
green.
Just well, it's really helpful.
All right, Andy Man from Andyland.
Look, there's this guy, and he's holding in his hands the torso of a woman. She's cut in half. Her legs are on the floor. And he's showing this woman's torso to his friend. What's the caption of the cartoon?
Oh, no.
I'd like to introduce you to my half-sister.
Okay. There's not even a Mikel on that. Not even Mikel on that.
Now, Mikel would say, there are rules to everything, even being crazy. It's gotten to the point where we've perfected those rules where the rules for being sane are kept secret. Arthur Buckleson.
Rules for keeping sane are kept secret.
Yeah, the rules for being crazy, everyone knows about. All right, we done good.
Thanks for joining me.
Very, very well.
Thanks for listening to Inner Peace with Dr. Reese. If this episode opened your heart, feel free to share on social media and tell your loved ones. Also, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Until next time, may peace be with you.